Hi, I'm Nicholeen Peck, and I teach parenting, good communication, all through the lens of the principle self-government. And it all started while I was working with children who had different processing needs in my home as a foster parent. In this video, I'm going to be talking about how to discipline an autistic teenager. In this video, we're going to be talking about how your autistic teenager might be processing to give you a little bit of an insight so that you can better help them. And then also, I'm going to share some key things that you can do that will make disciplining them more effective and actually feel better for them too. When you talk about autism, it's like, where do you go? Because the spectrum is so large. And there's different levels of Asperger's and different levels of autism, and everybody is at a different place, and they're all so very unique. But there are some things that people, no matter where they're at on the spectrum, usually share in common. So one of those things is higher levels of anxiety. Okay, so usually a person who's somewhere on the autistic spectrum feels anxious about changes happening. They feel anxious about people, sometimes meeting new people. They feel anxious about learning new skills. They don't like to make changes within themselves. They like to just keep with the status quo usually. Okay, so that's one thing. In order to help a person who is struggling with higher levels of anxiety, we've got to come up with a method of instruction and correction that actually is very predictable. Now, you can't always predict absolutely everything that's going to happen in a person's life, but what if there were some key things you could put into place, some language that you could put into place that would make all of the teaching for your autistic teenager predictable? Well, there is a way to do this, and it's something that they can learn. I know because I've had hands-on practice in my own home with troubled teens when I did treatment foster care for troubled teens for another number of years. Also, many parents now, thousands and thousands all over the world, have been using these skills and principles that I'm going to be talking about here in this video to help their autistic children, and they've found great success as well. Now, that said, when we work with autistic people, we know that their processing has to go sometimes at their own rate, so we have to have increased patience as we do the teaching that they require. Another thing that autistic people really need is they actually need to have a connection with people. Now, I know sometimes it seems like they don't because they're pushing away from it. They don't want to look at people. They don't want to focus in. They don't want to meet new people sometimes. But actually, connection to people is still important. In fact, it's a human need. Everyone has that need. So whatever interactions you're having with your children, they need to be connective interactions, even if it seems like the person is not a natural connector or they struggle making eye contact with you. Still focus on connecting to them. They can feel your connection to them, even if they are not able to fully connect with you in a way that you can completely identify. So this means that your tone with your parenting is going to be huge. The way that the correction or the discipline is presented will make all the difference. Also, here's a big one, truth. So people who are on the autistic spectrum usually have a very black and white mindset. It's like, well, okay, that is not okay. We don't do it that way, or this is how I'm going to do it. And that's all they see is the polar opposites. They have a hard time seeing all those gray variables in the middle where people might do it kind of right, but not all the way right. Or it's either right or it's wrong. So because that's the case, it is super important that you recognize that the way you phrase your words is going to be really key for them. Also, if you can keep the language predictable, you can end up helping them see where they can make small adjustments, even if they feel like they were completely right, because they were focusing on the extreme right side of things, even if it didn't quite turn out perfect for them and still needs some correction and teaching. Don't be afraid to teach your autistic child and to correct your autistic child, because those autistic teens, they are going to launch into adulthood just like everybody else. And if we coddle them, and baby them, that is the worst thing that we could do. So let's talk about how to correct our teens. But before we do, click the subscribe button now. This channel has a lot of information on it about parenting and self-government. You can teach an autistic teen how to self-govern. You can prepare them to launch by giving them more skills that they need, and you will find more of those skills in the videos on this channel. Click the subscribe now. So how do we discipline our autistic teenager? One of the most important things that you can do is lay the foundation for all the teaching before any discipline moment is upon you. That means that you need to teach your teenager the 4 basic skills that they need for self-government success. You also need to teach them the 5 different teaching styles that I talk about in my book, Parenting a House United, and in my course, which are the ways that you will correct the child in a calm and self-governed way. They need to know the words that you will say to them before those words actually come out of your mouth in a real moment. They need to know the consequences that they will be looking at and that they will have to accept. If they know all of these things ahead of time, they actually can invest in what's happening. They can feel like it's safe when a correction comes. Also, they need to know what they're trying to accomplish as a family. They've got to have a goal. So create a vision or a picture of what type of a family you are trying to create. This is so important for an autistic teen. Teenagers start to get a little bit more selfish anyway. And when you're autistic, you're hyper-focused on your feelings sometimes. So that can make a person doubly selfish. So what we need to do is we need to help them see a bigger picture. I know that can seem hard for a teenager who's autistic, who's focusing in on certain key things all the time. But they can see the big picture, especially as you talk about it regularly and you involve them in the creation of this big picture. In my course, I call this making a vision. So you want to create a vision for where the family's going as a group. This is super important. Then you teach them how you're going to maintain the focus to get there, how you're going to solve problems so that things aren't emotional. You might be surprised, but your autistic teenager does not want things to be emotional. Even if they're sending emotional things at you, they actually start to bottom out when the emotions start to come in. In fact, they're not alone. We all do, okay? When things get emotional, we go to midbrain or sometimes even back brain. And the place where we solve our problems is front brain. So the further away we get from front brain, the harder it is for us to solve our problems. This is for them too. If they know exactly how the problems will be solved ahead of time, then they can stay in front brain when it's time to solve those problems. This makes a huge difference for their lives and their feeling of security during the moment of correction. And you do need to correct. There are key steps to a correction that you're going to want to keep in mind. I have multiple videos that go into corrections here on this channel, and definitely I do in-depth training on my course to help you through some of those hard parenting moments. So be sure to get more help on that, but just a couple of key things. Number 1, you want to maintain a feeling of understanding and connection. So yes, they need to be understood. This means that you want to look them in the eyes. You want to think, I want to understand where you're coming from as you're talking to them. In fact, you might even say, I know right now you're frustrated about whatever it is. Ooh, that decreases anxiety. Good statement, right? A good little description about what you're noticing and what you understand about how they process. This is super helpful. And then you say, but this is what happened. And so you describe, now you're appealing to the logic of what happened. Then you're going to tell them why that might not be a good idea. Don't go too long there with the autistic teen because they can get lost in the weeds. Okay, so you might say something like, you know, when you choose not to be calm, it makes you not as happy. That's it, nice and fast. Then you would start describing what they should have done. So you might say something like, what you should have done is you should have kept a calm face, voice, and body, because that's one of the steps to this skill that you already know that we've worked on. And then you would say, since you chose not to do that, you have earned. And when we say earned, this is where we're going to tell them what negative consequence they have earned. I don't give it to them. The more and more ownership your autistic teen can take for their own behaviors, the better. So we're going to give them an opportunity to earn their negative consequences. And in our family, we oftentimes do an extra chore because work is the antidote for a sick character. So you would give them the opportunity to do that. And then comes the hardest part for your autistic child, and that is to do some practices of doing things the right way. They don't like to be burdened with that time. They don't want to do those practices, but they actually need practice doing things the right way, at least at first, until they really get those skills under their belt. So you might need a little bit more help with skills, and I'd like to give that to you. If you would like more help with skills, then I have a great video that you should watch next. In fact, it's a full-length class just for you. The class is called The Not So Known Secret to Parenting Success. So click on the link to that video now, and I'll see you there.